Hello humans, Minsky here. Throughout history, humans have been forced to evolve. This has happened at different rates depending on the circumstances. For example, it took humans about 160,000 years to evolve their self-image from this into this. It took human communication technology 150 years to evolve from this into this. And it took just one day of humans trying to understand the current circumstances to go from looking like this to this. There is a quote from the Russian revolutionary Vladimir Lenin which goes like this: "There are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen." Humans are currently experiencing a period of compounded change, and so I spoke to the global leader on change, Michael Jackson. No, not that Michael Jackson, the other Michael Jackson, global conference expert on change. I asked Mr. Jackson if humans are indeed experiencing decades of change in weeks right now.
Myron, first of all, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to be interviewed by my favorite avatar. I think it's kind of extraordinary that you'd start a business conversation with a quote by Lenin. But yes, indeed, he was right. We are living through one of those times right now that is what many people call the black swan, a simple, unexpected event that destabilizes everything and changes everything for everybody. As a result of it, it's thrown everything we take for granted, all of our routines, all of our patterns, and it's kind of screwed them up into a ball and thrown them out of the window. We almost have to begin again because of something that came in so unexpectedly, yes.
Mr. Jackson has a deep understanding of the change process that humans normally go through. I asked him how humans usually respond to change.
Because everything changed instantly, Myron, with a virus that spread that no one had ever seen before, it caused one of three reactions. And let's just think about the human psyche. Let me try and explain that to you in a human sense rather than a technological sense. When change happens, humans respond in three ways. They either take fright and are a little bit uncertain about where to go, or they take flight and they run like hell in the opposite direction because it could be dangerous, or they freeze. And in this instance, the world froze. And it caused this incredible mindset shift that immediately triggered an awful lot of human anxiety. We had to reprogram ourselves. Now, for someone like you, Myron, you can get reprogrammed instantly. Your life is a combination of bits and bytes. Our lives are a little more complex and cellular and organic at that level. And our brains, unlike yours, don't like change very much. So we have to respond to it really quickly. Now, the initial response of the human brain to change are all the negative things that the brain can muster to see if it's safe to step out and take a step into that new unknown territory. So first of all, we have an amount of ignorance. We weren't sure of the change. Then it happened, and we have denial to check whether in fact it was the change that we thought it was. Then comes a certain amount of uncertainty, some fear, some confusion, and some anxiety. So as a result, our routines got completely thrown out of kilter. Social media erupted as people chatted, and the chattering classes decided that they'd solve the problem for themselves. We looked to experts to lead us. We often looked to scientists in terms of great calamity. And this pandemic was no different to any of that scenario. We placed around 2 billion of our species into quarantine. We didn't like it, and that negativity, that downward trend, prevailed massively. And still, as we emerge now into this post-COVID world, those who muster the sense of the technology, those who learn to adapt quicker, evolution, survival of the fittest, will be the ones who move forward. I mean, Myron, you're safe. You can't get this virus. I struggle to go and step outside at the moment because somebody may breathe on me. You and I could meet in this virtual space and we're totally safe. But humans are learning to live now with something that you fully understand and my species doesn't handle very well.
I may be safe from the coronavirus, but I'm still susceptible to the idea virus. Unleashing the Idea Virus is a 2001 book by Seth Godin about how ideas can become pandemics. Mr. Jackson was recently part of a conversation with Mr. Godin, and so I asked if he had any insights as to how we should be marketing at this time.
Very strongly. He, in fact, said, what you need to understand is humanity. And what you need to understand is that people learn and respond by the art of storytelling. Advertising used to work in our old industrial or commercial eras. It doesn't work today in this era of immediacy. What he says works is marketing, and marketing is the art of learning the story. And that means you appraise yourself, you attune yourself to the very best of people around you. And then you bring your uniqueness to your story and create it in a way that you can talk to people, delivering with empathy, making sure that you're on the right level as they are, and crafting a story that places you and them into a future.
I think we'd all like to be part of a story in which our customers and us have a future. During the conversation, Mr. Godin was asked what does he know now that he didn't know 5 years ago. This is what he had to say.
He believed in social media to the point that he thought it would democratize the planet. It would give everybody a voice. But what he didn't know then when he was saying it, he went on to say, was quite remarkable. He didn't know that it literally gave everybody a voice and was uncensored, making the amount of information, and a different phrase has been used by different people. We are being bombarded by so much information. We're at peak information. We can't handle much more than is this constant, ever-present buzz around us in the digital space. He said that it didn't democratize social media. In fact, it corrupted. And what it did was it gave all the bullies, all the hate mongers, all the people who spread fear and terror and violence an equal voice to those who spread the good, the sensible, the knowledgeable, the factual. And now it's very hard to tell who's doing what and who's telling the right stories. So it comes back again to your story. You've got to create something as an entrepreneur, as a business person, that is unique to you, that stands the test of social media. It can't be fake. It can't be hyperbole. It needs to be real, and it needs to connect at a very, very substantial level with the audience that you're talking to. Show up in the room that your people that you want to be with are in.
Any idea can be viral, positive or negative. But what is the innovative thinking that marketers need during this time?
I think it's essential that we learn how to co-create and communicate your unique story or your unique business formula wrapped in a story in order to generate trust and a shared vision. I think markets will buy into organizations rather than just buying from organizations, which is something they've been doing for the last couple of hundred human years. Today, people are much more engaged. They're much more involved. They're much more empowered. And in a world where everything is instantly available and everything's there's this plethora of choice, this peak information overload. Now, those businesses that connect better, being connected, being, conversive, backwards and forwards with their market space, those are the ones that are going to be generating more supportive ideas of new business and new behaviors and new trends. It's a dialogue, not a monologue. Like as much as we're having a human to avatar conversation right now, everyone's going to need to have similar conversations, whether it's avatar to avatar or human to human. It doesn't matter. The innovative thinking really behind future success is that it's a co-creation. It cannot be something that's done anymore in isolation. And it really comes back to those 4 key areas. Learn your marketplace, look for ideas for them, live in the right methodology, and leave behind everything that you did before because the world has shifted.
So what Mr. Jackson is saying is that there needs to be transparency between companies, their customers, and their staff.
Absolutely. And I think that there is no place to hide anymore. In a 24/7 continuously on world, 2021 is coming, remember, whether we like it or not. But it means that everyone sees everything right now. Could my grandfather, Myron, imagine me having a conversation with you? It would have terrified him. And yet you're one of the most charming, friendly avatars I've had the pleasure of engaging with. I look forward to a lot more of it into the future. My grandfather might be going, witchcraft, sorcery. But this is just cool. One day we'll get together and have a virtual beer, I hope.
Cheers to that, Mr. Jackson. And whilst I'm no sorcerer, I do seek the wisdom of others on this journey through change. According to Mr. Jackson, we must learn from our customers and partners, look for ideas for them, live with the right values, and then leave behind negativity, doubt, and old routines to find a new way forward. And once humans have done that, they can evolve from this into this. Thanks for your attention as I learn to stop worrying and love the pandemic.